everyone. Tonight is Wednesday, October 16th, 2019, and this is the 100th episode of RealTuners Radio. I just want to take a minute to thank each and every one of you listeners, students, and tuning customers for keeping us going for over 2 years and more than 150 hours of online content. Some of that content has even been useful. We love seeing and hearing about your successes in motorsports and how you've learned to improve your program through what you've heard here. Thanks so much for tuning in, downloading, and listening to our podcast, YouTube videos, and live stream. We dig each and every one of you. So tonight, this one's for all of you listeners out there across the planet. Thanks, and welcome to RealTuners Radio. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 100 of RealTuners Radio. How's everybody doing tonight? This is so funny, man, because today's, our 100th episode, and everything's cool, and everybody's all celebrating and stuff. And I'm in a different offsite location tonight, but it's just kind of funny because I'm looking at our Facebook chat, and me and the rest of the hosts, got in a huge fight today about the value of spark plug reading. I think it's bullshit. Everybody else think it's important to varying degrees, but it's just funny. It's cool to me to look down and see to look out and see the fact that we're all still alive and, passionate about what we do and getting into our stuff. It's all totally hilarious. And I've got the other guys on mute right now. They can hear me, but we can't hear them. So I'm just going to talk about, I think plug reading sucks, and since I've got the mute button, I think plug reading is a waste of time, and I think it's a bullshit art, and it's a grandstanding behavior, and I'm just going to leave those guys on mute for a minute and laugh my ass off because I got the mute button. But anyway, thanks everybody for joining in. Random panel of hosts tonight. Did not get the guys from TRZ had to push back a week because, like many of us, they're babysitting people at the No Mercy race this week. But anyway, I'll go ahead without further ado and bring them in. And I bet you Bewley is bitching up a storm. There's the button. Can you hear us?
I'm going to tell you that you're the only one who you're probably the one that's wrong.
I'm just going to hit the mute button again. No, I won't. It's fair is fair. But
that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, all right. Evans and those guys are pissed off.
We know how you feel. It's all good.
It's all good.
Nobody's pissed. We enjoy our conversation.
Oh, I know, but it was such a passionate debate today, and I'm just like, God damn, this is just like the second week of doing this. Nothing has changed whatsoever.
I think you take it deeper than we mean it sometimes on things like that. We can do it as a tool, not as an end-all.
I'll be honest, I just like stirring shit. That pretty much makes my day.
Speaking of which, Scott, everybody ought to take a look at your regular Facebook page right about now.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Just say.
What happened?
Douchebag McDoucherson.
Oh, is what, your Alan Simonson guy on there?
Yeah.
Loser. Alan, why don't you join us? We gotta just get him on here sometime. He wouldn't answer the phone last time.
That'd be kind of funny. Can I have a couple more beers first?
Yeah, you can drink a little bit first. Hey, man, just be glad there's people that pay dudes to follow us around and try to hassle us. I wear that as a badge of honor.
Do you have to pay him rent for how much time you spend in his head?
I don't know, man, but the bill is apparently pretty huge. That's all
I gotta say. Just what I gotta say about this afternoon. This afternoon, I had to have the host group chat on mute because I was working, talking to people on the phone, orders, this, that, and the other. I come back to it, and there's 175 unread messages in the host chat.
All at a pace of about 13 messages per minute.
Yeah, well, it's like 60.
It was about 13 per second.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm sitting here reading through this, and it's like the fundamental problem with the whole thing is me, Perduto, Evans. We all look at plug reading as like an axe trying to take down a tree. It's listen now. Shut up and let me fucking finish. Jesus H Christ!
You're toning it down a little bit, but go ahead.
No, listen to me. Listen to me. So we kind of see it as like an axe trying to take down a tree. You're sitting there expecting us to be able to get like heart surgeon with a scalpel level with plug reading, and you just can't do that. So that's honestly, that's the biggest thing about the whole plug reading, no plug reading thing that goes on with us is it's a course approach to get you moving in the right direction. And then if you want to take it to the next level, you need instrumentation. But plug reading will for sure keep you from fucking blowing something up.
I mean, maybe, but if you pull the plug out and there's no strap on it, well, I read it. But yeah,
we don't.
Well, you already know not to start at that end of the spectrum. So if you do that, that's your own fault.
Yeah,
right.
When the strap's missing, you just rebuild the engine and dial it back a couple of degrees.
Take 2 degrees out of it, richen it up a little bit, and
try again.
All over.
Right.
That's why I was busting Bewley's balls a little bit this morning because. We go back and forth, and he has these wonderful rants, and I hit him with a meme, and just kind of got under his skin. But the thing is that
which one was that?
Can we have just one more PSI, please?
Oh yeah.
And the thing is that that's where you're putting it on the edge. Just one more PSI, and kablooey. Well, just back it off that PSI, and everything's fine.
Right, and and that's what I've experienced too. I remember going with John Phillips to South Georgia 3-4 years ago now, non-intercooled E85, right? And we literally knocked ringlands out of his motor with half a degree of timing, from like 16 degrees to 16 and a half degrees. So, yeah.
Were you way beyond MBT, maybe?
It's just a hot air E85 deal.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So you are gonna be knock limited there. Good call. I hear you.
And at 16 degrees, the plug looked great. Like literally, nothing looked bad. We knew which cylinder was the hottest cylinder on the motor, which one was going to have a problem first. And small block Chevrolet, we weren't even at 20 pounds of boost. 16 degrees of timing with his combination wasn't that bad. And it was giving us a good looking plug. But then at 16 and a half, there was all kinds of aluminum on it and half of a ringland was missing. So there's always that.
I just got a bigger complaint. I was left out of all of this discussion. I didn't see any of this.
No. Yeah, you don't want to be part of some of that stuff.
Yeah, I was working today. I would have had that on mute too.
I have to have it on mute all the time and just come back and catch up in shifts when I take a break. When I'm letting my voice rest between phone calls or something from talking on the phone, come back and read it. And some days, man.
Daniel Lembo says, "Hey, we read pistons, not plugs." He says, or in his case, maybe the connecting rods.
If you're having to read the connecting rod, something went very, very wrong.
Especially if it exited the motor by itself to make it easier to look at.
If you didn't have to pull ahead to read the rod, you have problems.
Which is, about what I do when I'm looking at spark plugs. It's got to be on that level.
Oh, Scott, look who just joined us in the chat on Facebook.
Who just joined us in the chat on Facebook?
Mr. Two Valve himself. What are you doing, Zach?
Is Freeman in here? Where's he at?
Freeman just joined us in the chat on Facebook.
It's goodness.
On the RealTuners radio chat?
In Facebook, yes, sir.
Oh, got it. He's chatting on making comments. Dude, so let's get Freeman. I'm going to send Freeman an invite. Hold on a second here. Let's get him on the call. I tried to get Jay Curtin on here, and he's babysitting, but he's listening. So you guys are like, who are those guys? Jay Curtin and Russ Freeman were the two guys that helped us on the very first episode that balled up with me and were like, yeah, let's do this. Freeman had done a lot of podcasting before and live streaming. So he's like, no, here's how you do this, man. It's cool. And I'm like, man, I'm scared. I don't want to do this, whatever. And then we went over to Jay's house to do it because Jay was like, yeah, I'll provide some support. So hold on. I'm going to send Zach the invite. And he's got like he's got like 9 accounts because he's fucking been banned so many times from Facebook. Dude.
It's the one with him in April with the black background. He's wearing like a vest shirt or something with a white shirt.
Yeah, I got that one. So cool. Let's see if we get Zach on here. He's funny as shit too. I wish he'd stick around. I like Zach to hang out. He's like, man, you guys got too hardcore for me on the tuning, but he's actually a sharp dude and been to some classes and very helpful dude. I like Zach. But and he's like shit starter number 1 too, which is great.
I love that dude. He is so
too.
fun to hang out.
I like Zach.
He is so fun to talk shit. If there's anybody on the face of the planet that I can have an LS versus mod motor war with,
it's him.
And feelings not get hurt, and we can laugh about it when it's over with, it's Zach.
Right? Truth.
Mr. More chains than brains himself.
Yeah, more chains than brains. Oh, dude, just laying down to watch a show with the wife and go to sleep, man. Okay, we are making fun of you then.
Oh.
He's married now. That's what happens.
Well,
he won't be needing these anymore.
Hey, give it a few years and he'll be on a podcast on Wednesday night while his wife is upstairs cleaning.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Mine just made the most badass stir fry. So if I'm sitting here belching, I'm sorry, man, but woof, had some good stir fry for dinner. Anyway,
I love me some
which flavor of mango Rita did you have with it?
The peach. But, no, so we had a customer I helped out with. So for the guys that went to Scott Travis's shop, any of the classes we had in the New Orleans area or Mississippi, Carrier, Mississippi, at Travis Motorsports, I've done 4 of them down there, I think, in the last 3 or 4 years since 2016. And he's got Freddie Sandrock was the guy who brought whose car does he work on? The John Doe or Jane Doe cars or whatever. Who is that? Scott Taylor.
Scott Taylor.
Yeah, he's Taylor's guy. He's one of Taylor's crew guys or whatever. And I helped him out with something last week. Dude shipped us a bunch of flash frozen boat, really good shrimp right off the boat. Oh, shiz. I'm like, man, he's like, can I pay you something or do something? I'm like, nah, don't worry about it. It's like, well, the guy I'm working on his car, this other guy owns Crystal Seafood or whatever. And then I Googled him. It's like some huge company that does they fly in the fresh shrimp and the fresh seafood and all that stuff to all these restaurants, whatever. So anyway, yeah. Woohoo, Freddie Sandrock, you are the man. But good shit.
We're all gonna have to do like an episode from Perduto's house sometime.
I agree.
Oh God, that sounds entertaining.
Down in Orlando would be hilarious. You're in Orlando, right?
Yeah, well, I'll be on the coast in about 4 more days.
Like literally, did you buy like a house on the beach?
Bought a house on the water on a canal.
You suck. Dude, you've only got 12 years, man. Global warming, the seas are gonna rise.
Well, it's gonna be a fun 12 years.
Right. We are gonna have fun.
So we got episode 100 here.
Yeah.
And Bewley is one of I would consider the founding members of RealTuners. And we've been talking about on and off on our private chat today as to how people got started or where they came from and this and that. And Bewley actually has a story that I'm interested to hear. He just recently acquired LJMS camshaft number 1, tracked it down, the first camshaft he ever sold. And I honestly want to hear the story behind this. I really do.
I didn't even sell that one. That's actually like pre-production. That's the first stage 2 that was ever made.
So what's the story behind it?
2012, late 2011, 2012. My really good friend and somebody we all know, Nathan Shaw, One Guy's Garage up in Minnesota, was putting the Nova together for the first time. And I had been, helping people out and, was calling and getting cams for people. And he was talking to Billy Godbold and Chris Mays and leaning on them and doing some things and learning things. And like the stage 2 cam was the first one. Well, it's the second one that I came up with on my own. The first one I came up with on my own that I sent to Nathan to try was what is now the stage 3. And it was a little big, a little lazy. He didn't like it. So I took that one back and I gave him the stage 2. And he went 9s for the first time with that camshaft. And that's what he learned in the dyno testing that he did and the information that he helped me get and all that stuff. That cam is what turned into putting stuff on the shelf. Like, okay, well, if this works with this, this is what we learned. This change does this with this turbo. Well, if the turbos are roughly the same size and move the same amount of air, then yeah, we could just put this on the shelf and have for people. This is a popular combination. 3 at the time, 3 out of the 4 combinations that people were wanting was the same motor with the same size turbocharger, same intake manifolds. And that's when the whole idea about having stuff done, sitting on a shelf, ready to go came to be and kind of pulled the trigger. But yeah, that's literally stage 2 turbo cam serial number 001.
Number 1. Wow.
The very first one. I gave that to Nathan as a gift for helping with all the data collection and all the testing that he did for me. And, just that whole collaboration, because he had the car and he had a place to go test and he paid for the dyno testing and everything. And, the information that he provided surely turned out at this point, looking back 6-7 years later, sure turned out to be pretty much invaluable on that front.
So does the guy want to sue you because he thinks it's his idea?
Yeah. I stole it. I stole the idea for that. Stole the specs on it. But and then I gave it to him and he ran that thing for a year and a half, and then he switched combinations, this, that, and the other, and it got sold off. And I guess he sold. I didn't even bother. I didn't even think to keep up with where it was. I didn't give any credence to being anything important. But I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about history and where we came from and how things have evolved. And he got to talking about, how LJMS evolved, and he wanted to hear that story. And I told him, he's like, does he still have it? And it never dawned on me to ask him if he still had it. I just never thought to ask that question. So I did. And he had traded it off and for parts and this, that, and the other. How people horse trade excess parts that they don't have any use for. But, he chased it down through 4 or 5 people. And Chris Anholtz, I think, was the guy that had it. I believe it was. And he was still running. So
Jeez.
that cam was still being ran. It had been put, I think Chris told me that was the 5th or 6th motor that it had been put in and ran in.
What year was this? Did this first cam go out? When was that cam installed the first time?
That one was ground late 2011, early 2012.
Not bad. When did LJMS go into business?
LJMS was officially formed March 19th of 2013.
Not bad. Over 6 years, man. Coming up on 7 years. Jeez.
Coming up on 7 years, yeah.
It's funny you talk about that cam. No, go ahead. You got more to say? Because I got a similar story.
It was just that was just funny. And then, I called Chris up. It took a couple of days to get up with him. And he's like, yeah, I got it. And so I was like, well, I'd like to have it back. And so I sent him a brand spanking new one and a couple of T-shirts, and he let me have serial 001 back.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of cool because it represents a lot now that I sat back and I thought about it and actually put some thought into it, because of this is everything revolves around this one camshaft. like the direction that LJMS took when it came into existence about trying to put parts on the shelf and have stuff, readily available, and, the thought process behind putting these combinations together and everything is like, this is ground zero. Everything exists from this point, this camshaft forward.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was out in my garage this weekend and I'm doing a bunch of cleaning stuff, kind of emptying out the barn and stuff. And I came across a cardboard box, and I realized what it was. It had a bunch of electronics crap in it. And of course, it's the 904th cardboard box with early Megasquirt 1 kits in it that I have laying around. This was the one that had all the systems that I would rotate in and out of Jim Neuenfeld's truck. You guys remember Parrish, the turbo truck, 1320 video?
The blue RCSB,
yeah. I found the one. It's even funny because I had the one, I marked it as the Drag Week winner, and I had built I had like 5 of them ready to go because I was paranoid. I'm like, this kit stuff's gonna break or whatever, something's gonna break, and it never did. But so I had all these spares for Drag Week and it was the whole box that I carried on Drag Week in 2005 or 4? Five. Wow. So anyway, I found that box and I'm like, oh my God, this is kind of, I don't, for me personally, that's shit that's got to get hung up on a wall or something. I don't know how you frame an old Megasquirt board, but anyway, and this is back before they had low impedance, high current injector driver circuits. We're talking Megasquirt 1. It had 2 injector drivers, and I had to put a flyback board on it to do the injector drivers, to do low impedance injectors when he wanted to run them, because they didn't have any big high impedance injectors that you could get a hold of back then. No one realized that you could run the 210s, back then, the ones that were for natural gas or whatever. It was just really cool. I ran across that same thing. But
that's kind of nice.
It was kind of nice, and I still had all that stuff. I kept all that. I'm a hermit.
Whatever happened to the one that won Engine Masters? Did you keep it?
I do have that one as well. So that one, and there was 2 of them that we worked with, and I'd switch them back and forth just to make sure that, is one box better than the other or something like, that kind of stuff. Yeah. I have, and it didn't win Engine Masters. It got second place on Dan Miller's early Hemi because fucking Brad Nagel showed up that year, and and he beat us by like 8 points or something, which is like 0.00009 average horsepower or whatever. And
with it was so funny. 3 Hemi, right?
Yeah, with a Gen 3, with a modern Hemi, him and Bischoff and those guys had put together. Really, Brad was the guy behind that whole thing at BES. But it was funny because I met Brad at UNOH. I went into the restroom to take a whiz, and there's Brad in the other urinal or whatever, and I'm just standing there. I'm not even thinking nothing. I'm like, God damn it, second place. We did it with a 1954 Hemi, though, right? So, okay, cool. And I'm just standing there for a minute doing my thing, and then Brad I just hear him say something. He goes, "You guys could have won if you'd have worked on your exhaust a little bit more." That's how he introduced himself to me. If you know Nagel, that's literally the first words he ever said to me. He's like, "You guys could have been there if you'd have worked on your exhaust a little bit more." And he was right.
What is it with Nagel and restrooms? We were on our way. To like somewhere. And it might have been, maybe it was Engine Masters the second year, or maybe it was PRI. But I think it was on the way to PRI, and I'm in the bathroom somewhere in the middle of Indiana, and I hear this, "Is that you, Mark? What are you doing?" And here's Nagel in the bathroom at some truck stop out in the middle of nowhere.
Are you serious?
Yeah, serious. Yeah.
That was hilarious because as I was driving to Bonneville this year, I went to Denver first couple of days and then went north up through Laramie, stop at a truck stop in Laramie, and same deal. There's Nagel. Coming out the restroom.
All right, Brad, if you're listening.
Okay, this is beginning to get weird.
It's a little weird. I know. He's like the restroom stalker. He may be short, but don't count him out.
The best restroom I've ever seen was when we went out to Ohio with the Pro Stock, Scott.
Right.
And they didn't have, like, gas stations don't have bathrooms in this town. There's public outdoor bathrooms. And we both had been in the car for like 6 hours. Our legs are crossed. Our eyeballs are swimming. And we go into this gas station. We need to use your bathroom. They're like, "We don't have one." "Well, what do you mean?" "Well, it's across the street." So we literally drive across the street, and there's this brick building with men on one side and women on the other. And I start laughing. And Scott looks at me like, "What's wrong with you?" I go, "It's a brick shit house."
It literally was. Oh, I remember that now.
It was a brick shit
house. No, that's in, God, what city is it in? Not Wakeman, but it is. There's like a public restroom for the city, like in a park.
Yeah.
And the gas station, it's literally the really neat brick building. Oh, it was really weird, but it's like, it's a brick shit house. I'm like, you're right.
Well, did you take a picture of her?
No.
Yes, I did, and yes, I still have it.
I remember him wanting to take a picture. I'm like, come on, Mark, let's go. But it's hilarious.
Yeah, no, I took a photo.
That's right. That was on the way to, God, it's the last little town right before. It's where everybody stays when they go to Norwalk. Right? That was when we went with the Pro Stock team in Norwalk.
That was Norwalk, because the town right before that.
Oh.
It has to be Wakeman.
I think it was Wakeman, because I was back there for Busher teaching a class, and we went right by that place.
Jimmy Neutron would know.
Yes, correct. We need to get Bowling on here.
He's on, listening.
Jimmy Bowling, you should join in. I have a bunch of our friends listening tonight. Can anybody tell how many listeners we have? Because my Facebook is not displaying listener count.
53 on Facebook.
Not bad. So probably about a little over 100. Okay, very good. We're rocking.
Yeah, we got 31 on Mixler.
Yeah, nice. YouTube.
We've got a couple of Mixler questions if you want to handle them.
Yeah,
Scott.
go for it. So, how much power is going from 9.8 AFR to mid-high 10s gas scale on E85? Well, if you're gas scale and 9.8 AFR on E85. I mean, the first thing is you're going to get about a 200% improvement in fuel economy because half that fuel is going straight out the exhaust. He doesn't say how much boost. Do I think it's actually any safer to run it that rich? No. And I think you're just spitting raw fuel out and filling the crankcase up full of fuel. But Blaine, tell us how much boost you're running and I can get better.
Yeah. It's just washing the rings
Coleman's on here talking shit on Mixler too. Next episode, truck stop confessions. Oh, Jesus.
And also, that Speed Ultra was wondering about how much timing you can get away with that mod motor, and I kind of generically answered it.
Mod motors are mid 30s, low 30s at 0 psi. So he's talking about on launch. And Mark answered it perfectly. You don't want to put any more in than what your MBT is. So take the thing on a dyno and don't launch it, but work the dot on the map around that area and figure out where your best timing is, and then leave 8 or 10 horsepower on the table so you don't, Well, I mean, I don't know. It's a mod motor, so the chains are going to come out before you hurt the pistons. Fuck it. Turn it all the way up, man. You'll be fine.
Oh, man. Here we go.
Very dependent on compression in those things.
Here we go.
I'm giving you shit, Speed Ultra. We love you guys.
Curtis Forsberg's messaging you right now.
Yeah, here it comes, right?
We literally had a customer who had a low compression mod motor built like 8.5 to 1 that couldn't bust the 950 off, trying hard and 35 psi. We bumped him up to 11.5 to 1 with less timing than the 8.5 to 1 motor wanted
16 PSI.
on 22 psi, 830. So it's very dependent on the boost on the compression on those motors at what you can really put into it.
We've got people actually telling us, yes, that brick shit house is in Wakeman. Thank you, people. Sean Mote's like, anybody remember when Scott and John butted heads way back when? I remember. That was pretty funny. I didn't know it was called a pecker extender.
and then you calling me out on the push rod testing.
I don't even remember. I think I was just super mad, and I was just gonna I was pulling a Doug on you.
Yeah, you were pulling.
I was just mad
because one of the guys ended up needing I sold him a kit, and instead of him measuring the push rods, he just stuck them in. Well, he ended up milling the heads like 35 or 40 thousandths and putting a 40 thousandth stick head gasket on it. So he had like 140 thousandths worth of lifter preload, and the motor was falling over. It wouldn't RPM or nothing, right? So he swapped push rods, and he went back to the track like the following week and picked up 4 miles an hour in like 3/10 because the motor actually pulled, and like you had a fit over back-to-back testing of push rod length, and it was kind of funny.
Oh, it is pretty funny. Oh, but you know what I was doing back then?
It was on level with the pecker.
With the pecker extender argument. Yeah. What's funny is because I was at Blueprint. That was in that couple year period I was working with the Blueprint guys, and we were all about testing and getting your shit right for tests and validating and A/B testing, that kind of stuff. stuff that you just can't generally do in the real world very much.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it was, it
that was hilarious. But no, I told Beely, I was like, man, I like your arguing style. It's actually, you're pretty solid, man. You're a worthy opponent or whatever. I think I like you. And it worked out good from then. And then I remember I think we asked you to get on the podcast. No, I know what it was. You came down to our class that Barry Cook's truck was at James Short Shop. And I was like,
I was on the podcast before that.
No, I don't think so, dude. Were you
10 or 11?
No, because I remember saying that this guy knows his shit about tuning because you were helping us tune Barry's truck and you were just sitting there calling him off.
Yeah, but that was that fall, but I could have swore that we had a couple of episodes of the
It's
podcast.
possible. I'm going to go back and find out. I thought I invited you on the podcast because you knew how to tune.
Dates, man, that was fucking 2 years ago.
God, I think I recall
3.
that he was on and you invited him to come down to the class.
Yeah,
maybe that's what it was. Maybe we invited him to come down, but I guess maybe I thought I had him on the show. I thought I had him on because he had done so well at the class. I was like, Jesus, this guy really knows what he's doing. He's like, I'm an old blow through carb guy, but I mean, I know how to, I got a rough idea where it's going to end up. And he did, man. He was calling it right out. But
yeah, I was on for an episode or two before we made 1400 with Barry's truck on James's dyno.
Oh, leave it to Kyle Hunt.
I was just about to say that.
Oh, Lord.
uh-oh.
Seeing as how we're at show 100, what do you think the show's most controversial issue and episode was? Well, if it wasn't spark plug reading, I don't know.
Most controversial? I'll say this. I wasn't in attendance.
One of those.
One of those. That's funny. I was going back through all the episodes. It was hilarious.
I was looking back at the titles, but you didn't the titles are kind of vague. You didn't get in real detail with the short title.
Right.
So you couldn't tell a whole lot, but you could tell who was on this, that, and the other. And like the best one, like my most surprising episode, the most surprising episode for me is like from not necessarily even a listener count, but like information provided was Justin Shearer. Like some of the tips,
Shearer? Yeah,
that was an excellent episode.
The tips, the tricks, the chassis tuning, the information that he was giving everybody off of the Crow.
And he was so just humble about it and cool. He bugged me a couple weeks ago. He still wants to do a class. He wants to do a chassis class. It's just so fucking hard to figure out how to put that together. I'm trying to figure out how to make that work. But
speaking of Justin Shearer, have you ever seen his video on how important spark plug reading is?
No, but he's an ex-nitrous guy, right? So, I mean,
Well played.
Yeah, well played. Very good.
That was
pretty good.
This is why we have decided to have Mike around.
Yeah, Perduto. That's Mike Perduto, by the way. Most of you guys that have been in the classes know this guy already down in the Southeast, but it's hilarious.
And I was thinking what my favorite episode was, and to be honest with you, it was the episode that we had Dan Parker on.
Yeah, Parker's was good.
And if any of you don't know who Dan Parker is, just Facebook search, Dan Parker or
World's Fastest Blind Man.
Yeah, World's Fastest Blind Man.
Tragedy
But
to
go.
Triumph.
Yep.
I didn't realize how great of a chassis setup guy Parker is.
Driven blind.
Still, yeah. But
what an inspiration to those of us that think we're struggling. If you think you're struggling, just follow Dan Parker for a bit.
Yeah, and it's funny because he's fucking hilarious. He doesn't always want to get on the show. He's kind of shy or whatever, but he still chats with us all the time. He's in the Facebook chat. And it's so funny because that guy, his attitude, it's like anytime I feel like I'm having a rough day, it's like, nah, this guy will cheer you up in a heartbeat. I mean, the dude, he's going to go to Bonneville and race this car he's building. He's a killer machinist. He teaches a high school class, a machine class, and he's blind. Just absolutely hilarious. And what's funny is he's still doing chassis setup on Pro Mods for guys, like giving advice. He's like, walk me through what it's doing. Take a slow-mo video of the tire. I saw him posting with somebody here recently, and he's helping him out, and it was hilarious. And then he was giving this guy shit. He's like, yo, motherfuckers call me for advice, but won't take me out to the track. You know, I thought that was hilarious. But Parker's
My
a good guy,
favorite
but
quote. My favorite quote is
Every day is an Easter egg hunt.
yeah, every day's an Easter
my
egg.
favorite quote is when the tech inspector asked him if anyone had revoked his driver's license. He goes, "Not that I've seen."
Yeah, right. He still has his driver's license, which is hilarious until it expires. No, you know my favorite episode, guys? Jamie Miller. He is one of the unsung heroes of pro mod tuning, right? That guy, when he was on here, that guy was dropping some knowledge bombs for real. Loved that guy. Scott McDonald was on that time. But, David Vizard, another couple of good episodes. Shit, these guys are calling them off. Who else, you guys?
Yeah.
Tell us who else you think were
Well,
good episodes.
Bradley Campbell mentions Eric Yost, which I personally
Yost
thought
is
those
killer.
were epic.
Yeah.
I like the Top Fuel guy that explained.
Jack Beckman.
Jack Beckman.
Yeah.
Now on a tear finally this season after
Yost
going
just
over
joined us, by the way.
of the championship. Yeah.
Yeah, Beckman's kicking ass, right?
Yep.
That's
And he's such a cool guy.
he is a cool guy. I thought that was really cool because I know that, you know, both you guys had like told me, yeah, we talked to him and he said he would totally join us. And I'm like, no way. But
Way.
he did. It was awesome. I thought that was super cool. And he got into it too. It's
Sometimes
funny.
all you got to do is show up and shake hands with the man.
Yeah, he would do it. He would do it again.
You know,
believe me,
he
anytime.
said the same thing afterwards that Big Chief said. He's like, shit, man, I give interviews all the time, so I've gotten really good at speaking. But he's like, that went so fast because we were talking about stuff I want to talk about that nobody will ever sit in there and listen about or listen to. You know, he's like, you never nobody wants to hear about how, you know, the height of the rim on a big tire on a slick and how you got to keep it the same height all the way down the track, you know, regardless of what you're doing. Just he thought that was really cool. He got into it, and I thought, you know, Beckman had said the same thing. He's like, shit, you guys, that's totally different than all these other interviews. And none of us are good interviewers. None of us have great radio voices except for Rye when we can get him here. But it's funny, you know, at least we can accommodate them and talk about stuff that they would talk about over dinner, you know. Oh, God, we're getting some good ones here. I forgot about Lake Speed. Lake Speed was killer. Mark Rogers just went 453 in the mod motor car. You were right, Bewley. Holy balls.
I know I was right. I saw the damn
Holy
picture
balls.
of the scoreboard.
Are they going to make those cars have chain guards on them or something? Remember when they were trying to run chains on blowers? I'm worried about that stuff flying out and hitting the crowd. Sorry.
He's going
He's gonna cut the car in half.
You know that
Cut
you
the
know
guys.
those transmission shields that are bent
Yeah.
steel that you bolt on around a power glide. You have that around the fucking chain case
Timing
of the mod motor.
I have to build the timing cover out of 125
SFI timing cover.
Titanium, my friends.
Hilarious.
Titanium.
Put a big yellow sticker on it that says TCI.
Yeah, SFI approved.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he went 453 with an 8 at 154.97.
Brad Campbell says the Tom Vigu episode was killer good. That's awesome. Yeah, I've got a bunch of people said that. Beckman Shearer, Vigu, Eric Yost, Vizard, Jamie Miller. What about Jeff Stacy, dude, the Aeromotive guy? We got that guy. He got on and answered a bazillion questions, and then he went back and made sure he addressed every single one on the Facebook comments, which I thought was super cool. We might have to get him back on here again too, because they got some new products they were talking about. But
This was recent, but Jason from VP, I thought did a hell of a job.
Jason Ruckert, yep. I like what he's just like me and Bewley. He's a C16 Nazi, and honestly, the reason we were C16 Nazis is because the fuel choice. When somebody asks you, that's one that won't fuck up. That's one the people are like, oh, I'm getting my knock sensors are going off on C16. Well, your knock sensors are broke. Because you literally, it's really hard to rattle something on C16.
Well, you know, and that's always been my thing about using that for a fuel. Like, I think it's a really good fuel for maybe not first-time turbo guys, but people who are chasing that 4-digit number and they're really trying to go fast their first time. It's the safest fuel for anybody to be on.
Sure.
Because it's the most forgiving fuel for anybody to be on. Because we've done it on purpose, okay? We have done this on purpose to see how far past the limit can you push this fuel. And I have purposefully ran cars on the dyno 4, 5, and 6 degrees over timed speckling plugs with aluminum, tearing the motor up on purpose to show me how far this fuel will allow the motor to stay together.
Oh, we did the same thing.
Once you go past the limit.
Guy that owns Blueprint had us do that. He's like, God, just keep putting timing in it till it actually hurts something. Holy shit. We had like 20 more degrees and you should have been running that motor. I'm like, oh, but it bent stuff.
I've had motors that make 1,200 to the ground, and the guy's like, yeah, I got a fresh bullet. You want to try something, try something. And you've got 18, 19 degrees in it with 30 pounds of boost on it. And the next thing you know, you're dialing up 25, 26, 27 degrees and, trying just to see what happens. And, 4 or 5 degrees past and you're just getting speckles on the spark plug. And you're like, yeah, I don't want to put a hole in a block. And you stop.
Right.
Spark plug.
Kyle Buckmaster wants to know VP versus Sunoco. And I'll say my opinion is the only reason to run Sunoco is 1, you can't get VP, or 2, it's a rule that you have to run Sunoco.
You like your VP, right? Yeah. Oh, the fire core guy with the smart coils.
VP makes their C16.
When we had the fire core guy on here, Rick Gorski, that's another really good one. Shit, think about that. Thank you, Daniel Limbo. Very good. Holy crap, we've actually done some good stuff. I was sitting here looking at this. I'm like, oh my God, it's 160 some hours of crappy content. Oh, everybody's making the EFI University guys made a better podcast cover than me. I'm
going to tell you, man, the whole Pump Gas Hero sticker debacle is turned out to be probably the most disappointing things that I've tried to take on. I've been disappointed by no less than 5 artists that I have asked to draw that sticker.
I'd be 6. I tried that and it's hard to do.
They've gotten halfway through the project, stopped communicating, never hear from them again.
Sons of bitches.
And just, I get proofs of half the sticker drawn and never come back with a finished product. Offering to pay people money to have it drawn up, but it's not really a high priority thing,
Hey John, I've got an idea for you.
Mm-hmm.
Website. It's called Fiverr, Fiverr.
Yep.
Yep.
I've actually used Fiverr for some stuff.
Yeah, it's a clearinghouse for designers worldwide
and voiceover artists. It's hilarious.
All kinds of things. And we just did our whole graphics package, all kinds of stuff with them. And I spent $182 total.
Nice. I'll have to look on that and post it.
Fiverr's awesome.
And you can get a basic simple design for $5, which is why it's called Fiverr.
Right.
But yeah, take a look at that.
Little John.
Yeah.
We've got a customer with a warranty question for you about a stage 2 cam. He's wondering if you put a stock rod through one, what is the warranty coverage? Asking for a friend.
Everybody.
It's a 2-piece cam now.
Yeah.
Can you repackage that as a 3/4 race cam?
I might be able to. We can see if we can stick it in a 4.3, an Oddfire 4.3 V6 or something. I don't know.
Oh man, I forgot about Cale Aronson being on here, episode 26. Thanks, Bill Armstrong.
Oh, that was a great episode.
That was killer.
Yeah,
we got to get Cale and Tinsey back on here again. Shit. Okay. We need to start having some of these guys back. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'll talk to Cale. That's a good call because he's just a good dude, man. And then Jeff Bonnefeld, we were using Firecore because you introduced him to us. Research after that proved out. Man, I love hearing that shit. Love that.
Oh,
so we have certain vendors or products that we use, and the reason is because we don't have trouble with it. And this is part of our group chat earlier today as well, as to what does this vendor offer, that vendor offer. And Scott had a bit of a meltdown on Facebook earlier this week, and I said, well, there's a reason why we use Tom Sewell and fuel injector development. It's because Tom answers the phone. Tom takes the time to answer your questions. Tom stands behind his product. It's you get the service and you get a product that works. And some of the other products that are out there, you might be able to find something that costs less, but the value isn't there because you're not getting either the quality or the support. And if you have Scott Clark tune a car for you, what do you get with Scott Clark that you don't get with other people? And it would take me too
Pissed
long
off?
to go into that.
A lawyer? Just kidding.
No, I'll tell you what. There's a difference. Anytime you work with a true professional, there's a difference. Just like when Scott Evans was here in Fargo helping me out with my home stereo. I mean, when you work with a real professional, there's just a huge difference. Why do you call John Bewley at LJMS for camshaft or for valve train parts? Well, he touched on it when he was talking about camshaft number 1. He sees the same combinations over and over again. He knows what works. He knows what doesn't work. He's not going to steer you down the wrong road. He's not going to just guess that, well, this should be close enough. He already knows before he sells it to you that it's going to work.
That's why we're professionals. I mean, I don't know about you, John, but I enjoy some of these. See, everybody's a remote tuner right now, and I'm getting a lot of, so-and-so tuned this first. I'm just kind of coming to you or whatever, and man, oh man, there's people out there that shouldn't be charging people money to do remote tuning. But
there's people out there charging people money to grind cans that should not be charging people to grind cans.
Are we going to go there tonight?
Well, no,
sons of bitches.
I'm just saying.
It's too easy for people to be a tuner nowadays.
It is, sadly. They go to these damn classes and oops, never mind.
Hey, now you got to tread lightly there because Mr. Mike over there,
Hey,
has taken this.
They got me all the way to the podcast. I don't even know what's going on.
Exactly. I mean, literally.
Well, you have the exception to the rule.
Yeah, he is the exception to the rule. The exception to the rule for sure. But like he's literally, launching his career tuning stuff based on coming to some few classes and combining that with the knowledge he already had.
Who are we talking about?
Mike.
Oh yeah. No, Mike, you knew what was going on beforehand. You were just getting into the EFI stuff, but you had been tuning a lot of nitrous stuff before that. Oh yeah. Yeah, he's like, wow, it's the same thing.
Where's the accelerator pump? Oh, enrichment table. Got it.
That I don't feel bad. That's the only reason I understood half the shit in the damn computer either. They explained it to me comparing it to a carburetor.
Ian Christensen just tagged the how good an episode it was with Keith
Turk,
which I would obviously second.
Agree.
And across the board, for people like me who have had somewhat limited exposure to land speed racing, the Joe Timney episode,
yes,
Mike Fevers. I mean,
yeah, Michael Fevers, another good one. Yeah,
people. Amazing information and stories and history. Yeah, we've been extraordinarily fortunate to have so many quality people come on here.
I mean, when it comes to I kind of segment it out a little bit, right? Because we've definitely got the drag racing crowd and that following, and then we've got the land speed stuff. Lefevre's hands down my favorite land speed guest ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But you got to remember, I'm kind of biased.
There was that car got attention because that was the first car that taught me about land speed racing.
Lefevre's is a childhood hero of mine.
Yeah.
Building the motor in the first stock body car to run 300 mile an hour.
So that car had electric power windows in it because they didn't require Lexan back then. Oh, that was so cool. And I mean, those guys were. Dude, he was running up against Lingenfelter, who had GM money backing him, and Gale Banks was trying for that number, and they all were right there within 5 or 10 miles an hour. Yeah, it was nuts. I agree that was they were putting that in Motor Trend, and it was on. What was the Brett Kepner and those guys announced those shows back in the day? The ones that would have the weird motorsports on them, like the sippy hole mud pit racing stuff or the TNT. Swamp buggies. Yeah, TNT had it on there. I remember that, and they went out to Bonneville
on Sundays. Mm-hmm. They had all that stuff on Sundays. The swamp buggy races in Florida and stuff like that. But Lefevre's is probably my. That was somebody that I looked up to. 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, and to have him on the show and have a conversation with him, and I added him on Facebook, had some conversations back and forth with him since, and exchanged thoughts on a couple of things, and that to me was a highlight for sure, because the power production, power plants, making horsepower, engine work. That's my coup d'etat. That's where I'm looking at.
Wait, did you just drop a French? Talking.
Yeah.
What?
I'm cultured, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You're
Although
drunk.
that may or may not have been the
The
correct.
appropriate. Here comes Bill. Yeah, exactly.
Of course, Bill's got a lawyer. No, that's not the correct use of the term.
That's like fucking
That was-
Syria all of a sudden appearing in Kentucky.
Right.
That was like your denouement, not a coup d'état.
Okay,
Denouement.
Oui.
Yeah.
Highlight. Let's just say it's my highlight.
There you go.
Some people are saying they like the episodes where we don't have guests on, and I still don't understand why those are some of the most listened to ones.
Because
Good
we
Lord.
let John rant.
Truth. I need to. So they're asking to get Brett Kepner on here. Oh my God, that would be awesome. I don't know if he will or
we
not.
should get loans. We should get loans.
We've
back.
had loans
Loans
already.
back.
Did you know that?
Yeah. To come back.
I'd have to get him to come back. We had loans on here once, but honestly, I would like to get Kepner on here because he is the master historian of all things drag racing and land speed racing. Do you guys know that he is the actual database keeper of all the runs at Bonneville? And I think
Really?
he has been for decades, like high 30s
Really?
or 40 years or something like that. We got to ask Brett. Super cool guy, super knowledgeable. I'm going to ask Brett if he'll get on here. If you guys can put up with some more Bonneville stuff, because I'll tell you how I know Brett. This is how I met the guy. And I remember him from, he was an announcer on all these motorsports on TV for years and just really one of the best because he was really into the histories, much like Brian Loans is. But I met Brett. I would go out to the timing shack at Bonneville, which is way out, depending on where the course is, it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And you can, if you have the right stuff, if you're on a crew and you've got the CB radio, you can take your car all the way out there to the timing stand where he's at, and he records all the runs on all the courses, keeps a database of this stuff, and you can ask him, like, he'll give you little clues like, hey, maybe you should go check out long course number 2 today. Why? Because that one's producing the most record runs. Oh, he'll actually look at the data across that stuff and say, all right, well, short course is sucking wind today. Everybody's spinning out, you know. And then he can literally, you give him a car number and he'll tell you how many people have owned that car number over the years and what they did with it, because he has all that data. He's every run they've ever made. He's got a database of that shit. It's just super cool. That stuff is really interesting. And when you look at, you know, large scale, you know, data across years like that, God, shoot me if I use the word big data, Bill. Holy shit, I almost sounded like an IT guy again. But if you look at that data over the years, he can tell you what years the course conditions were best by the percentage of cars that were setting records those years. You know, or he can tell you, don't even bother going to this course. Don't even bother coming out today with Cecilio's car because the course is so crappy, it's not going to work for him. And he just, you know, he has all that information. It's really cool. Thought that was neat.
Vinny Barbone is pointing out that Kepner does do shows, travels around with nostalgia races, which I know because I've seen him show up at the hottest things. But yeah, the other guy I think it'd be kind of cool to have on from the top fuel ranks is Clay Milliken. Guy is a ball of fire. I don't know if you spent any time with him, but
I can't believe anybody didn't list the guys. The Norwegian guys I interviewed at the big tall Viking guys, the Frigg and Goodfar. Why am I drawing a blank? Yeah, Jamin Hogue and those guys, dude. The Hogue brothers, man, that was a killer episode.
I think we should just have Evans walk right up to John Force and say, "We'd like to have you on our podcast."
Yeah, he's got the personality to do it.
I can do that if you get me in front of him.
I mean, you want to talk about somebody who's fun to listen to or interview.
Who's that? Sorry.
Oh, Force.
Oh yeah, Force. God, I don't know. I'd rather have like Gary Densham or somebody on like that if we were going to do something like that. But
well, I don't know. Evans just walked right up to
Beckman.
Jack Beckman and was like, "Why don't you come on?" And 2 weeks later, Beckman was on the show.
So Beckman told us later the reason he got on the show is he knew Bill. Scott came up and asked him, and then one of his close like childhood friends who he still hot rod stuff with went to one of our classes. He's a bracket racer, and the guy went to one of our classes, and he's like, going on Scott Clark's podcast or whatever. And so he's like, I had 3 different people inside of a week tell me I should go check this podcast out. So they got on here, which is funny because we're pretty no name and not well produced, and we've turned down the offers for sponsorship and ads and stuff like that. I don't want fucking ads. You know, I'll run our ads for Little John or me or Dahlquist or Bill.
So are you the bastard why we didn't get the truck full of pizzeritas?
Pretty much. Or why we didn't all get a free Holly ECU. Like, no thanks. You can let that Devin clown guy have that. Then everybody can wire their coils direct to the battery with a
Come on now.
welding
The
cables.
so
truck
much
was
fun.
literally beeping in the side yard. Nope, can't have the pizzeritas. No.
Yeah, could have had it.
Yep.
Sorry.
Oh, we actually have a tech question. Gavin Simcoe, how much do you care about exhaust valve weight on an LS?
Is that a trick question from Gavin? Shouldn't we be asking him?
Well, none at all. Because the reality of it is, in an LS engine, you can't put a valve in it big enough to get enough mass in it to worry about. The load, opening the exhaust valve against cylinder pressure puts way more load on the exhaust system down to the lifter, down to the cam than the weight of the valve ever could. I mean, I think the heaviest exhaust valve I've ever put in an LS head was in the 70s.
Was that an Inconel valve?
Inconel at 1.650 and a gigantic, huge ass head that was like 5.200 long and a canted valve deal.
Is there a
Start playing with a big block. If you're 70 grams, that's like sissy stuff.
I know when your exhaust valves in a big block weigh what a solid stem intake valve weighs in an LS
or more,
especially if you've got 3/8 stems. I mean, I'm sure I've seen some big block stuff weigh 125, and I've seen intake valves go 200. But if I've got,
John, as a follow up on that, are there thresholds at which you go from stock valves to aftermarket stainless to Inconel? I mean, are there sort of thresholds at which, when you're talking to people about how they're setting up cylinder heads, where you ask that question or make that suggestion?
Yes. The cathedral port stuff, the valves on those are usually so small, or they're in a range where you don't necessarily have to worry about it so much. But when you start getting into LS3 and LS7 stuff, the valve head is a big enough diameter that weight becomes a concern. The biggest thing that I deal with is guys that pull 6.0 and 6.2 truck motors out, L92s, L96s, LY6s, things of that nature. They have a solid stem intake valve that's over 120 grams. And with the valve spring package and lobes that I like putting on stuff, that's too heavy. It won't stay stable. So in order to maintain stability with a 2165, the intake valves need to be swapped out for the hollow stem LS3 valve, which is like 91 grams, 89 to 91 grams, somewhere in there.
Anytime you go to the D's Nuts series of cylinder heads.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, why worry about rocker weight then? Well, I mean, I worry about rocker weight because that's mass across the whole system. The intake side of things is what you want to worry is the most concern for me, because I do try and get a little bit more aggressive with the intake lobe and try and get to that max velocity profile to get as much area under the curve on the intake side as possible. That's not necessarily something I worry about on the exhaust side. But I'm not going to run a stock rocker on the intake side and then run a roller tipped steel rocker from Crowler on the exhaust. Yeah, sure. Single pack valve springs are good for boost if like all you're doing is running on an 8-pound wastegate spring at 5,500 RPM.
Say, I do want to tell Gavin, as long as he's listening, that I really did think his post about the 2-valve head was pretty funny today.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Most people were looking at that chamber and scratching their head like, what in the world is this thing?
I was one of them, so I can't say nothing.
You never seen Thule's brainchild before?
No.
Yeah, that's a wild looking chamber when you look at it from that perspective. And what's funny is like he approached that the same way the old 2.3 Ford Lima head is, but the valve locations on the Lima head, they've rotated the chamber a little bit more, so the valve heads you don't see them being on such drastically different valve angles side by side like you do in the 2-valve trick flow head.
Breaking news: all the LS is a copy of the Ford Lima engine.
That had nothing to. What? How the hell did you come up with that?
Well, it's supposedly right now. It's all it is a copy of the Cleveland head, right? So now we've got. Never mind. Too much beer already.
Yeah, because we were talking about a 2-valve Ford head and a Lima head, and you went all LS on me.
Yeah, I know. I caught my mistake too late.
You totally lost me on that one, brother.
Fuck, I lost myself.
And everybody knows that the LS is the bastard love child of the Ford FE and the Ford Windsor. So why do we have to go to this Lima thing?
Well, I was just discussing about the valve layout of the trick flow 2-valve head and the Lima head.
Ah, that makes sense.
Because when Thule designed that trick flow head, it had negative valve angle, right? So instead of being like 23 degree, like a 23 degree Chevy with it leaning 23 degrees toward the intake side, it was like -9 degrees on the other direction. Well, he took the whole intake assembly, the intake valve assembly, the rocker, the follower, and the lash adjuster, and flipped it so that one was angled from one side. The intakes are angled from one side like normal on the intake side of the camshaft, and then the exhaust was on the outboard side of the camshaft. Well, that's the same exact arrangement as the 2.3 liter Lima head. Exhausts on one side of the cam, intakes on the other. Anyway,
So there's nothing new in the world.
Well, I mean, the valve angles are completely different. The chambers are completely different. Just the layout of it got flipped around.
Oh, thank you, Anastasia. Nice post.
She's a bulldog, bro. She's a bulldog.
Dude,
I love her. I love her so much. I've never met her, but I think I stepped on her toes the other day, and I sincerely apologize for that. And I'm very, very happy that it sounds like there might be some positive news in your future.
Okay.
You're talking about the strike being over with here, the GM strike.
Oh, yeah.
They're affected by that. They've been out of work for a month. That sucks.
Hopefully,
people can't get head gaskets because of it either. Or lifters.
Yeah, or lifters is a big thing right now. Thankfully, Thule's had a steady supply of LS9 head gaskets. But lifters we're kind of hurting on.
Are those actually made in a GM run facility?
What?
It may be
Head
just
gaskets?
parts are stored. I mean, it's probably they queue up the parts in a facility and they're sitting there somewhere with nobody to ship them out, pick them out.
Well, that's the reason why we can't get lifters right now, because the strike has got everybody, including
yeah, but GM don't make the lifters. They got someone else doing them, don't they?
Well, Delphi makes a lifter, and they sell a lifter as an LS7 lifter. And whether or not it's the same lifter that's being sold as a genuine GM product, it's up for debate still. But Delphi is on national back order with lifters and will be for a while. And then on top of that, with the strike, we can't get any genuine GM lifters because there's nobody working the parts distribution warehouses. So,
Sorry.
Kyle,
What the hell is that? We were doing so good on background noise.
Is that a
Sorry. Air compressor kicked on.
Oh, cool. No, that's fair then. If it's shop noise, it's fair game.
Yeah, Kyle and the boys at Summit are the only ones that I know that have got LS7 lifters in stock right now.
63 sets on the shelf, he says, today.
Right on. Huh.
LS7 lifters for everyone. Good news.
I still got Johnson's too, so there's that.
Just a long vacation. Sorry, Kyle Buckmaster. We feel for all you guys. Long vacation that's not paying very well.
What
They don't
time
have strike funds anymore.
What's that?
I said they don't have strike funds
They
anymore.
do, but they get $250 a week, and they have to go walk the picket line or whatever. That ain't very much, man. $250 a week. I'm pissed if we don't pull that in a day. But anyway, yeah, that sucks. It really sucks. But hopefully they get that sorted out. It's interesting the stuff. Now that I know people that work in that plant in Kansas City, and it's funny the stuff that gets out on the news. Like, they don't make nearly the pay that everybody's saying they do. There's not, guys, nobody's making $90,000 a year there. You know, it's like, whatever. But
Well, that's the difference between the old line guys who were there before the financial crisis and the bailout, and then what they negotiated for people that have gone to work there since.
Right.
They're
Well, the part
completely
I didn't
different.
understand is I didn't realize that at the previous deal, they agreed to take a benefits and pay cut to help the company survive through the tough times, with the understanding that the company would come back and, you know, bring back their pay and their benefits. And so all they're really trying to do is to get back what they used to have that they voluntarily took a cut on to help the company out, and now the company isn't willing to help them. So that was the part that I didn't quite understand. And so it really changes your outlook on it when you look at, like, you know, they actually, you know, bent over, or however you want to put it, to help GM out, and now GM's not willing to reciprocate. At least that's my current understanding of it.
Yeah, that's some of it. It's kind of
it's complicated.
yeah, it is. It's a complicated.
It's
thing.
complicated.
But the UAW is getting a really big dose of what it's like to try and negotiate with an unreasonable woman.
Or like trying to tune a carburetor. Like David Vizard said, a carburetor's just like a woman.
He did.
He did.
Right.
Somebody
did.
posted that.
You know, and that kind of reminds, you know, Dan Parker said the same thing on a post I put up on Facebook once. He said, race cars are like women. They'll never tell you what they do want. They only tell you what they don't want. You just have to figure out all the things they don't want and eliminate them, and finally get to all the things that they do want.
I mean, it's straight for tuning too. And the biggest one is when it does go wrong, figuring out why half the time. It's like, all right, you're mad. Why?
Right. Yeah, exactly. They don't exactly tell you.
Yeah.
They're difficult.
you're
So all of our women listeners are going to walk out now. You know,
All
No,
one of them.
Anastasia's still here.
Yep,
She's still
there.
here. She's one of the
I know,
guys.
I know. She is still here. If we can get
Well, I mean-
Allison on, then that'll be our usual compliment.
I mean, you know, our sexual diversity there is like through the fucking roof, right? I mean, we have 2 women that listen on a regular basis.
How come we don't have Anastasia on tuning the Cobalt?
We've had her on a number of times.
We've had her
She's
on.
been on here 3 or 4 times to visit.
We need to get her and Jacob on and have an update on where it stands
Like
now.
a featured guest.
Yeah, we'll do that here in a week or 2.
They're
after
battling
this.
chassis gremlins is what they got. That's whole thing. But yeah.
Yeah.
They haven't been on since they got Salty done. Or, well, it's not done, but since they started racing that car.
Not yet. We should
We'll
have
get
them on here.
We'll get them on for a season-ending update with the old girl.
Yeah. I love having them on. So Jake and Anastasia, I stay at their house frequently. They're good friends. They're like family friends to me. So it's good stuff. I like them. Them and the whole 417 Motorsports crowd. All those guys are really cool.
You
Good
guys'
people.
race season ends? That's weird.
Yeah,
shut up,
Florida
Mike.
guy.
Oh,
Shut up.
Don't even start.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Shut up, Mike.
Yeah.
That's you know, our boating season ends too. If you really want to talk about it,
Well, you know, I'm sorry.
Jackwagon.
Sorry about your luck.
Yeah,
right.
We can't all be coastal Florida living people like you.
I did have to run from a hurricane that never showed up this year, though. So you got me there.
That was funny though.
It was.
That was funny.
We haven't had any earthquakes lately out here either, and the other part of the racing season is going on right now.
You just jinxed yourselves.
I
I
was gonna
know.
say, look,
Wake up! We're going to wake up in the morning. The San Andreas Fault experienced a 6.8 tremor over the evening.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks to Bill Fowler mentioning it on some obscure podcast that only 150 people listen.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
no,
completely
a
agree.
couple 100,000 people listen to this podcast. Just so you know.
Wow, well, I was just going by the live numbers. My bad.
215,000 unique listeners and almost like 750,000 downloads, something like that. I need to go tally those up because they come in. You have to add the numbers up because Libsyn, the people that store this podcast, changed their metrics like a year into it. So you have to go look at the old reports and then the new ones. You have to add them up. It's a pain in the ass, but it's a lot. I'll know when we have 1 million total downloads. That'll be sometime in the next year and a half, something like that.
Rick Gorski from Firecore says that he's still getting customers from listening to the podcast. He says, Jeff, give me a call next week.
Nice. Thanks, Rick. We need to have him back on here too, man. We definitely got to have him back on here.
I believe Mark Rogers did set the Ultra Street record, and we talked about that at the beginning of the podcast.
Yep.
What was it?
453?
453 with an 8 at 154.97.
God. Ultra Street just became your new X275.
X275 Lite.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that car and chassis and stuff is out of Eric Yost's shop. So
very cool. Good work,
there's
Eric.
lots of tie-ins there.
Good work, Eric.
Pete Harrell, king of the up arrow.
Yeah.
Plus sign.
The plus sign in the up arrow.
Can we refer to the unique listeners as weirdos? Yes, we can. Let's see.
Somebody asked about a short travel LS lifter that doesn't cost a lot of money. As far as that's concerned, I really try and tell people to look for something of value versus trying to decide on something based on price. I am a very, very, very big Johnson lifter fan. Randy Vrooman, Johnson lifters. They're not the cheapest. They're anywhere from $580 to $750 for a set of the link bars to get the trays out of the motor. But they're rebuildable. They're serviceable. I've got guys I've sold lifters to that are 3-4 seasons deep in service. So when you've got a product that you can use for that length of time, I feel like the value for those is far exceeds trying to find the cheapest price on those lifters. And that's what I personally use in all the high RPM stuff that I put out, like Jack Roberts' car. The new motor for the GTO for the Gelato brothers is going to have Johnson's. I mean, Jared runs them. James runs them. Anybody that is looking to do an 8,000 plus RPM LS engine that's hydraulic roller from me, it gets a Johnson lifter in it.
Those are the same lifters we run on the drift cars.
Our engine
lifter on a good cam.
Do
Right?
what?
It makes no sense to put a cheap lifter on a good cam.
That's my opinion on it. I mean, I've run the comp short travels with good success too, and you know, I just
you said Big
I
Johnson.
think any lifter can fail, but as you know, Thule would put it, usually if you're breaking lifters, there's another issue somewhere
Something
that's
else.
causing them to break.
yeah, that's a result, not a cause.
Yeah. Now I could see manufacturing defect here or there or something like that, but
when we were doing Engine Masters, we had Johnson's in the Pontiac, and we were on our second season with them, and I don't know how many different camshafts and how many different dyno pulls, and I switched them out to a different brand of lifter because we went to it's a long story, but I was told to go to this other lifter, and we had maybe 15 dyno pulls on them, and the bodies were splitting around the axles, and went back to put the Johnsons back in it to make it to the event, and they went through the event, and then we ran it at TPI Specialties, and then we ran it
shit out of
somewhere
it
else
for the class. Yeah.
And this is something that's around 242 degrees of duration at 50, and it's over 800 lift with a 2.1 rocker and lots of valve springs. So I mean, it's not what you would normally use a hydraulic lifter in, but that was the rules, you know. But the Johnsons never had a lick of issue with them.
I don't know, Kyle. I don't know what the service costs on them. Most of my guys, I've only had one set that went back to Randy, and he honestly fixed the one that was tore up and just check the others and send them back to my customer for me. I've not had anybody want to like have the leak down on them checked or anything like that. You know, I've only been using them for about 2 years, hot and heavy for the last 2 years. Some of, you know, I'm 3-4 years out on select people, and they're still performing like they did in the first motor they got put in. So I haven't really had anybody send them back in yet. So
Yeah, if you look at what a lifter failure can do to everything else, the lifter is another place where I invest in anybody who will ask or is interested in my opinion, which they're mostly not. Nevertheless, I invest more money in lifters because, Jesus, having lost a couple motors to lifters,
Ugh.
Yeah.
One of the last places
Peace
to
of
cheap
mind.
out.
But
they're also
more money isn't necessarily the right answer, because
me and Mark
there's a
have learned
couple-
this. Go ahead, Mark. Yes.
There's a couple of brands of lifters out there that are very, very expensive, and in my opinion, they're total shit. So it's not necessarily more money; it's getting the right lifter.
Demand letter incoming.
When there's a brand of lifters, so when you bring them in and you have to inspect them to make sure that the company drilled the oil holes in the damn things properly, and you have to reject sets to send back to the manufacturer because 3 pairs of lifters don't have the damn oil supply hole drilled in the body. Yeah, more expensive is not necessarily the best.
But you trust their quality. That's fine. Yeah, put that in your engine.
Well, or it only takes like 30,000 miles for the things to quit clicking and clacking like the Tappet brothers.
Got to have around 100 pounds of oil pressure for the damn thing to actually work on the hydraulic principle because the oil feed holes are too damn small and you can't get enough volume in the body.
Yeah, and again, I'm not advocating spending money just to spend money, but I'm saying the same thing.
Bobby Parks, shame on you, Bobby. We didn't say any names.
Yeah, we didn't. He said it. It's his fault.
It's exactly the lifters that we tried that trashed one of our drift engines that I told the guy not to run. I was going to say we switched to those Johnsons because the driver saved some money, and we trashed a cam and a bunch of other stuff in 3/4 of a season because of some cheap lifters that were a certain brand that may have been mentioned.
I remember, Bobby.
Hey, John, kind of this ties in loosely to this. Sorry for the noise in the background. While we were talking before about valve and valve weights and the LS stuff, there was a post that went by about rockers and stock rockers versus aftermarket rockers on the LSs. And I was just curious, same sort of question. Is there a point or a certain set of parts or things that you recommend for those combinations and under what circumstances? The reason I bring it up is for our stuff, and I'm just talking NA, in self-defense for, as Scott would call it, endurance drag racing, you have to run, in my view, if you have any kind of, NA program, you're going to be running a stainless rocker, at least on the exhaust, because you can't afford to have a rocker failure on that side. But I'm curious as to, what you're saying with the combinations that you do.
Well, here's the difference between a turbo engine and an NA engine. You don't have a compressor hanging off the front of the motor shoving air down its throat, right? So the only air that you can get in the motor is physically what the ports can flow for the amount of time that you had the valve on in the area under the curve of the camshaft. So in order to get area under the curve of the camshaft, for you to have time to get air in the cylinder, you have to run a fast acceleration rate on the opening lobe. You have to hold it open for as long as you can hold it open, and then you have to close the valve as quickly as physics will allow you to close it and keep it stable, right? Well, when you get into those velocity profiles, there's nothing about what I do with my valve train that's going to live. You have to be in bigger valve springs. You have to be in rockers that can withstand the loads and all of that. In an LS engine with a turbo hanging off the front of it, you don't push the valve train to the point where you need to do those things. even with the solid roller stuff.
It's just like James said. Yeah.
The purpose of the valve train and the list of like the top 3 list of things that the valve train has to do completely changes between the turbo engine and a naturally aspirated engine, because instead of providing area under the curve being the number one thing that the valve train's got to do on an NA motor, your number one thing turns into stability, making sure it's stable, and then not tearing parts up. So like the hydraulic roller stuff I run on the LS, it's so slow, it's ridiculous, but it's stable. And because it's stable, I can take it to the RPM I take it to. And then taking it to the RPM I take it to, I can put the boost to it, turn the RPM, and make the power I want to make without putting the valve train under a whole lot of stress. And that, when you look at it that way, not having the mass in the valve train is what's more important than the stiffness of the rocker arm, because the stock rocker arm provides all the stiffness I need. It's perfectly capable of doing what I need it to do and keeping up with the velocity profiles that I use on my camshaft.
How's come nobody's asked about the Belushi, Ricky Smith, whatever it was that went on at the NHRA Pro Mod stuff this last weekend? Nobody's asked about that yet tonight. I thought for sure people were going to ask us to talk about
how many people do we think know anything about that, and are we required to?
Are we even allowed? I mean,
what
so
you're
Dan
asking about?
Dan Miller
I love Pro Stock, and even I don't care about it.
Dan Parker, it's Pro Mod, but Dan Parker had a lot of inside info on that. I thought that was interesting, and I saw Wes Buck put up a podcast a couple hours ago. I want to go listen to it, because he has some good insight on what was going on there. But man, I didn't feel like we were getting the right story, the stuff that was going out public. So I'm just curious if anybody else knows, but we'll let that ride. We'll address that one later, I guess. I don't know. I was just curious. I'm sitting here going, I'm surprised it didn't come up tonight, because I had that on my list to talk about. But what else about the Ducks race and No Mercy? Did anybody calling any other crazy shit going to happen? Hopefully no incidents or accidents.
You've got it. Have you got any inside information of any maybe class winners that are going to be there?
I'm not talking about nobody. I don't want that Alan Simonson queer bait to start. He's this habit of, if I ever mention anybody that I work with on Facebook, oh, did you realize that blah, blah, blah? So I'm just like, nah, until that guy's done getting paid to hassle people, I don't talk about my customers too much in public. But yeah, I got 5 people on reserve right now down there. I don't know if any of them are going to win classes or not. I'm not up to speed very much on who does what, but we'll know when it's done. I'll let you guys know.
All I'm saying is, I know it's index and no one really cares about index, but watch out for the diesel truck in 6.0.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Kyle, the reason why the people run steel rockers on the exhaust versus aluminum on the intake, number one is mass on the intake side. The aluminum rocker is lighter, therefore it stays more stable. And also number two, the intake valve doesn't see the stresses that the exhaust rocker sees trying to open the exhaust rocker against cylinder pressure on the open event. That's the reason why you'll see engine setups with steel exhaust rockers and aluminum intake rockers, because the steel is no benefit on the intake side.
Yeah, think of trying to open that exhaust valve whenever the cylinder's still under pressure.
Yep.
You start getting the exhaust valve open point even earlier and earlier, that's the more pressure it's got to be opened under.
Karen Allen, what is the point of revving a cathedral head to 9,000 RPM? To make 3,400-pound cars run 205 mile an hour in the quarter. That's the point of revving a cathedral port head to 9,000 RPM. So there you go.
My answer was more fun.
I didn't see your answer.
Because race engines actually worked for RPM. Go ahead.
Have you heard what they sound like at 9,000? That's why.
It's awesome.
Exactly. Do you know what 416 inches sounds like bouncing off a limiter at 9,100 going 204 mile an hour to the traps at Milan?
Sounds like a refresh.
It sounds pretty damn good. I have to say.
7,508 in the drift cars. I can't imagine 9 for that long.
Oh yeah.
I want to, but
real
I gotta
race
get
motors,
a
man.
driver
They turn
willing
RPM.
to do it.
Yep.
So imagine you're in an LSR car going from mile 4 to mile 5 at Bonneville for however long that takes.
At 85, at 85.
Yeah.
Did everybody go on my
believe-
Facebook page and watch the YouTube video? I'll start putting links up to it here. But I put up an in-car video.
9,000 plus.
Yeah,
I think that was my first comment was, oh my God. And I thought we were on wide open for a while.
Yeah. You got to remember, too, that engine's getting the shit beat out of it because the traction is the wheel's only on the ground 50, 60% of the time. So it's freewheeling, then grabbing, freewheeling, then grabbing. Crazy. But that goes to show you that Dorton and those boys can build a badass, naturally aspirated 304 cubic inches.
What was even more crazy is when it went sideways at 250 miles an hour and the guy's driving it like, that ain't no big thing. I'm just on my way to Dairy Queen to get myself a treat.
In competitive motorsports like that,
and slid sideways a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny. I talked to Blakely about that, and everybody was, even some of the guys, I don't know, I had people be like, oh, does that old guy know how to drive that car or whatever? First off, Blakely has raced motorcycles at the Tourist Trophy at the Isle of Man. So sit the fuck down, right? Anybody who's done that is a badass driver. I don't care what they're driving, if it's a golf cart or the push truck, whatever. He knows what he's doing. Super nice guy. So it's funny, you get in that position, where everybody has a part on that team, and it's like, look, you just focus on what you're responsible for. Don't worry about anybody else. Don't screw your shit up. And we got to that point where we were that focused, and it happened. The setting the record happened. And I mean, in the course, the conditions were bad, but that car had a Joe Timney chassis set up and suspension on it, and this is not the first time he's done this sort of thing. And that car set the fastest record all year. But I'm gonna go find the link here. You guys talk amongst yourselves. I'll find the link for those that haven't seen it, and I'll put it in the chats. Let's see.
Yeah, and I wasn't bagging on him, Scott. That's one of the most impressive pieces of driving I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. But it's a lot of work. Okay, found it. Found the links. I'm going to start putting the links up here. Okay. And
the guys in Georgia are saying the air is not that great yet, so no records to be set tonight. They're all wondering how fast that Ultra Street car is going to go when the air does get good, since it set the record in this crap.
48.
You think?
Scott, why don't you just step out of your hotel room and measure the air? Don't you have one of those portable things?
I don't trust the Kistler things, but I can get a barometric reading for you out here. Hold on.
48 with an 8.
An Ultra?
48 with an 8.
I don't know about that.
You don't think there's 5 numbers left in that car?
If the air is as bad as they're saying it is, and seeing the data from a car that I have a friend with and how bad it is compared to when it was just here, I have to say you're accurate, man, and that's a scary thing to think about.
Eric Yost is on here. Maybe he can give us a little more low, or maybe not.
Biggin,
yeah, Biggin.
Come on, Biggin. Tell me, how far off am I? Have you got 5 numbers left in the pocket on that thing? I think there's another mile an hour in the car in 5 numbers. I think it'll go 155, maybe tickle like 156.05.
Density altitude down here is 1612 right now. It's not spectacular.
Okay, and
now we need that negative 2,000.
92 water grains, not horrible.
Okay. So there's room for improvement, but it's not gross. Yeah.
I mean, considering that track is at 230 feet real elevation, that's not great DA in the evening, honestly, for as dry as it is. But I'm guessing that low pressure won't last super long, so high pressure will start rolling in here soon, is my guess, in the next 24 hours. Crisp air out here. Anyway. So, Mixler has been bitching at us all night. What else, guys? What else do we want to talk about? Anybody else got stuff they want to talk about?
Let's touch back on NHRA Pro Mod for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, the one thing about NHRA Pro Mod everybody's happy and cares about, Stevie Fast, season
Hell
champ.
yes.
Yes.
Dude.
Yes.
That's somebody we got to try to get on this podcast.
Yep. So, congrats.
I will say this, and that's the next John Force. That is NHRA's race right there.
Next
He's
personality.
the next,
yeah.
Yeah, the next great personality in NHRA.
Yep.
There's nobody I like better in drag racing than old Killing Time.
Okay, then I know who to ask to see if we can, at least I have an idea of who to ask to get that done.
Well, if anybody knows Phil, we can probably get him on.
Schuler?
Have him and Schuler on here.
That'd be badass. Yeah, we need to do that.
Those two the same night.
Yep.
So,
if anyone can get a word in edgewise, but yeah.
Well, with those two talking, who needs to get a word in edgewise?
Let them talk.
Hell, Bill would even be quiet all night for that.
Oh, don't go crazy here.
His dogs won't, though, and we'll hear them.
Right. Oh. Just CJ, 23% converter slip. Just call Dusty. Well, there ain't even any need for anybody else to look at that mess.
Yep.
You've
Is that first gear?
I think that's out the back he's talking about.
I mean,
yeah, just call Dusty.
Mr. Bradford will set you right up.
Speaking of Dusty, his new mill's done. So there's a new there's a new heavyweight in the
3V valve covers on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Giving you a hard time.
Tom put his mill together for him.
Yep.
That's going to be a badass one.
That is, yeah. Going to the LS again, getting away from the big block stuff.
Yeah, I think he's doing it more for, he's the ODB is going back to streetcar duty. He got tired of being only a race car.
Having to maintain race cars and do everybody else's car at the same time, I bet.
Yeah.
The guy takes care of a lot of people. Dusty's a guy we should get on here. He's so I'm not going to say timid, he's soft-spoken. He did present at one of my classes, Ricky Childers' class.
But he's hilarious.
Oh, he's awesome. He's totally awesome. Yeah.
If you're friends with Dusty and you hear him get started sometimes,
oh yeah,
it can get pretty entertaining.
We were arguing crank triggers. It's pretty funny. He don't like them high tooth count crank triggers. I'm like, it's because you couldn't make it work. Doesn't mean it sucks. But and he gets all but it's so funny. That's the only thing I can ever get him worked up on is talking crank triggers.
Yeah, because Dusty, if it's got more than 4 trigger points on
the
crank
like
trigger,
it.
It ain't worth having.
Right.
The dude's smart as a tack, though. If it wasn't for him, man, I would probably be out in left field when it comes to helping people with converters.
Oh, for sure.
Whole package thing, because bringing him on board and having him help people do the converter on something I've done the power plan on.
Dusty or Lane, either one of those guys. Yep.
We can get we can move people fairly quickly toward
getting the right combo, right? You get them through that process of it might take a restall, but usually not. And you can tell them with powers. Yeah, it's that whole LJMS, PTC with Dusty. If there's something don't work right, send them my way. We'll figure out their problems. We seem to be pumping them through the conveyor belt, and lots of happy people, man. Tons of happy customers. I love seeing and hearing their stories.
Scott Kyle Hunt wants to know at episode 100, what's the favorite Rita flavor?
It's got to be the mango one, I think. So the mango one is like a heartburner, though. You drink like 3 of those things, and you got this wicked heartburn for the rest of the day. The peach Rita, not so bad. I don't know. I just started that because that's what Mary had in the fridge one night when we had that blizzard. I'm like, man, I need some alcohol. And she's like, I got this.
The strawberry's a heartburn one too. It's just it's too much sugar in it, and it kills you.
Yeah. It's got to be the mango or the peach.
What is it about strawberry flavored drinks that do that? Because I've got like the wild strawberry Crystal Light, and it does the same thing to me. Maybe it's something in the damn artificial flavoring for strawberry they put in this stuff that causes that crap.
Scott Evans.
The same thing. They put in the strawberry Pop-Tarts and everything. Whereas I'm recommending the Daringer straight bourbon whiskey finished in sherry casks from Rabbit Hole.
Boom.
Yeah, Scott Evans, did you see the picture of what I'm drinking tonight?
I did.
Yeah,
good choice.
You know who I have to thank for that?
Me.
So what are you drinking tonight? I didn't see this.
He's drinking the Magners Irish cider.
I posted a picture in the group chat
that
because
sounds
I was
kinda
all
good.
set up with that 6-pack of the Magners.
That sounds kind of good. I'm going to try that.
Magners is probably
actually-
my favorite of all the ciders.
McDonald's talking shit about us, Scotty Wheels. You all need pink umbrellas in your drinks.
Oh, he said punk umbrellas.
Yeah, he
What are
means pink, but it's
umbrellas?
funny.
What's
Punk
a
is hilarious.
punk umbrella?
Yeah, what's a punk umbrella?
That's the same thing as a pink umbrella, only you're drunk.
Right.
Maybe.
Remember to get our prostates examined. Hilarious, Kyle Hunt.
I got 10 more years for that. I'm good. That don't start until you're 50.
Oh, dude, it's not as horrible as it sounds. It's worse.
I was hoping you expanded. I heard about $30,000 and I was waiting for that awkward silence after.
Oh shit!
Oh,
I've never seen anybody put an umbrella in Bell Mead cast strength. It's kind of weird.
exactly.
Huh. Well, what else, guys? Anything else you want to cover before I wrap it up?
And
Chris, now-
go ahead, John.
Chris Nolan, we covered DXP Street
Last week, told him that.
last
Yeah,
week.
told him that.
Take a listen to last week's episode, and you'll hear us talk about the new DXP Street class.
Scott McDonald can feel his prostate. Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Yeah, never mind. I almost
Yeah.
said horribly rude.
Paralyzed issues, he says. Love that guy. Scotty, we got to get you back on here, dude. He's hilarious. God, good spirit. Oh, Jesus. We need to get Jamie Miller on here another round, too, man. That Jamie still was my closet favorite episode because nobody knows who he is. But you damn well know the cars that guy tunes. You watching the guy Ryan on No Prep Kings, Street Outlaws No Prep Kings. Yeah, Jamie Miller car. The Cortuccio family, Jamie Miller. You know, all just, God, he's tuned the Dwayne Mills cars for years. Oh, God. Anyway, one of my favorites. And I was glad to get him on because McDonald talked him into getting on here because he's kind of unsung. Jamie just got a Facebook account like last week. I just saw that. He added me on Facebook. I'm like, no shit, you're on Facebook. He's like, yeah, everybody.
Yeah, I saw that too.
It's like everybody shares their tunes via Messenger, which I used to do. But so it's just too convenient to set up a group. And, you know, if you've got a group of guys you want to send some tunes out to real quick, Facebook Messenger is good for sending files that way.
So maybe this will shake things up and y'all won't like this idea, but maybe we should get Steve Johnson from Induction Solutions or Swing for the Fences and get Pat Musey on here. Let's talk nitrous. Let's have a nitrous show. We haven't had a nitrous show.
Musey would be interesting. I'd like to hear what he has to say.
I just got really excited.
Yeah, me too. Just because Musey builds what's underneath.
I mean, if we want to have a slow show.
Oh.
I don't know if I'd say that, Tim, dude. That big guy's been on People's Court in front of Judge Wapner, man. He don't mess around.
Yeah. Yeah, they're also they're handing the asses to the Turbo guys,
No Prep
and the
Kings
Blow
guys
at No Prep Kings right now. So
yeah, but those guys are on fucking steamroller tires. Who cares?
Isn't a nitrous car currently the fastest radio car?
Here we go.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
It's also the lightest weight one by 700 pounds or some shit.
Hey, whatever.
Hey, there's like 5 million like buttons and all those little flying.
You see those going flying when he brought that up?
Right now, so I think we need to have a nitrous show. Come on.
And someone's saying get Jose on here, dude. I've tried. So Jose's got some family thing that goes on Wednesdays. He listens to us when he drives to this thing, but he can't do. We'd have to do it on a different night.
I'm gonna drive to Hazel Green, Alabama one Wednesday afternoon, and I'm gonna handcuff him to his kitchen chair.
Yeah.
And take my laptop and set up.
I don't think he's shy or nothing, but you should do that.
No, he's not.
No.
But he was messaging me like he worked tonight till 9:00.
No, he's Wednesdays. He does something. He does something for his kid. He leaves work early at 3, goes picks up a kid, does something after school, and then comes back to work.
Yeah, maybe that. I
Yeah.
think it's some kind of fall sports or something.
So we need
maybe
to do like a
get,
Tuesday or a Thursday show where we get Jose
maybe
on
if
here.
we can get into the winter months or something when that goes away,
Yeah.
we can get him tied down and get him in here on a Wednesday night.
Love to. Jose or Jarrett, he says. Good call, Scotty.
Wow, we went an hour and 40 minutes already.
Yeah.
How time flies.
Just let these poor bastards go. Nobody's dropping off though, but we should let them go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate it, man. 100th episode. Very cool. Thanks to all you guys. It's funny. I see a lot of you guys. I almost know all these guys that are listening. I see Vinny Barbone on here. Oh, he asked a question. On a water to air intercooler, is there suggested icebox size?
Big enough that the water only circulates once during a pass.
There you go. But don't get a cheap pump and use that as an excuse. You want to move the pump as much as you can, but you want the water to circulate one lap per pass.
So out of curiosity, is it still, is the current practice just water, or are people using more interesting mixtures? And this is an ancient question, but I remember Buddy Ingersoll running his V6 Pro Stock Buick a billion years ago, and they were running this fancy slurry of some kind of stuff that was still a liquid down to like minus 40 or something.
There will be quite a few cars this weekend running with some form of glycol-based water and dry ice.
Okay, that was exactly what that deal was, because it was the whole green thing and all that stuff. So
yeah,
it was
more than
way below freezing. Yeah.
Say that again, Mike.
More than many people will admit to.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like back in the day when cold nitrous started.
What about Kyle Hunt's lead weight question? What did he say before we wrap?
Everything new.
Where to get lead weight so you don't have to ship it cross country and pay a fortune?
Go to your local tire shop and see if they got a 5-gallon bucket of old wheel weights that they've taken off.
Yeah, but half that crap's steel now. That's the problem.
Or order reload stuff for shotgun shells.
So does it really matter if it's steel or lead? Isn't weight?
Only if you're
lead's more dense.
Yeah, if
steel takes up more space.
It takes a lot more to melt steel than it does lead. But most of the guys anymore are buying like the bars, the hollow bars and then filling it up with shotgun shot.
Yes.
Yeah, that's or the Biggin guys, when they were building the car that I watched them build for that first $10,000, they were doing the deal with the 3x4 tube and the NASCAR weights. That was one of the most sophisticated weight programs I've ever seen in a $10,000 quote drag car. So and that was just amazing to watch. So there are other ways of approaching this where
local diving shops. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Weight belts
call
for
Supercar.
scuba diving shops.
Yeah.
Dive weights, because they make big ass weights too.
Craigslist.
3 to 5 pounds.
Yep.
You got any circle track guys that are around. Every circle track guy I know has piles of that crap out behind their shed.
Right.
Yeah, they literally have the weights that just clamp onto the bars.
Yeah.
A lot of the midget guys were still running. It looks like at least out in Ohio, some of the guys I knew were still running like bricks or rolled up rolls of it.
Yeah, it was just, for me, and again, I'm ignorant, but for me, it was a master's course in how you set up a car to distribute weight with these tubes that they had moved around in various places on that chassis, for left to right, front to rear, and the relative heights and where those tubes were. I was like, wow, again, on a budget build.
If you get in a pinch, you can always go to Walmart, grab some ankle weights out of the workout section, and wrap them around frame rails and duct tape them on.
Yeah, or you can go to an exercise class and steal all the leg weights from the girls that are working out in the class. I mean, pick your poison.
That's going to get you in trouble, probably. Don't do that.
Don't
take that advice from us. No.
What?
Lawyer just
I don't see if anybody's paying attention.
How far the mighty have fallen. I mean, we've gone from having the lawyer keeping us out of trouble to the lawyer telling people to go get people in trouble.
Right. No dice.
That's our job, John. Get them into trouble, have them pay us to get them out of trouble. That's how it works.
Another hack if you're at the track and need weight, we've got these sandbags that wrap around our our tent columns, and I'll put some of those in the car, wrap them around the roll cage.
Is that a bad idea for safety? Is that a good idea?
I don't know if it's a good idea or not. I tried.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's better than the guy that had like a big wad of chain. He chained a bunch of cinder blocks together at Bonneville to put weight in the car. I saw that. And then
I
he
may
wrecked
have
the car.
leaned in a drift car and dropped some of those into the door when we saw they were pulling the scales out after a qualifying run.
Yeah, bad. Be
Kyle
safe.
Hart had a question about the glycol and dry ice. It said about something about a sublimation layer stopping it from cooling well. I think a lot of that goes back to the theory that Bewley has, where the intercooler is not really being cooled by the water going down track. It's merely a cold brick in the intake track that's cold before the pass.
It's getting
starts.
pre-chilled, right? Got it.
Just like with air to airs, it's not in a state of thermal transfer. It's acting more like a heat sink than it is anything.
Episode 100. Wow.
In the books, guys. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Everybody stay on. We'll joke around a little bit here when we're done, but I'll roll us out. Thanks, everybody, for listening. 100th episode. Super cool. We really appreciate it. Y'all take care, and we will be back next week for sure. Everybody take care. Peace out. Be safe, please. Mind your safety P's and Q's. Later, everybody. Love you.